I have 12 plastic eggs that I'm going to open one at a time to tell the story of Easter. No chocolate, but there is a surprise in each egg. Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a little donkey colt. The people were reminded of a prophecy that said that's how their Messiah King would enter. The people were so happy to see Jesus. They laid down palm branches on the road and cheered, shouting, "Hosanna!" to honor their king. The Jewish leaders were not happy to see the people praising Jesus. One of Jesus' disciples, called Judas, told the Jewish leaders he would help them capture Jesus if they would pay him 30 silver coins. Jesus had a special supper for his disciples. He passed around a cup of wine, and they all took a sip. He told them the wine represented his blood that would be shed for them and all people. After supper, Jesus took his disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he asked them to pray for him. Jesus prayed an anguished prayer to his heavenly Father. Jesus knew he was going to die, and he told his Father he was willing. But when he came back to the disciples, they had all fallen asleep. Jesus woke his disciples. Just then, Judas came into the garden and led the Jewish leaders to Jesus, and they arrested him. They took Jesus to the Roman ruler Pilate, who had Jesus whipped. It made Jesus' back bleed. At the supper the night before, one of the disciples, called Peter, said he would be loyal to Jesus no matter what happened. But Jesus told Peter that before the rooster crowed 3 times, he would deny even knowing Jesus. Later that evening, as Peter stood warming himself before the fire in the palace courtyard, people recognized him. He became afraid that he might be mistreated like Jesus, so he denied knowing his Lord. It happened 3 times. The rooster crowed, and Peter cried because he had denied his friend Jesus. The soldiers put a robe on Jesus and placed a crown of thorns on his head that made his scalp bleed. They mocked Jesus, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" Then they took Jesus to the top of a hill outside the city called Golgotha. They nailed him to a cross with nails on his hands and feet. Jesus' cross was between 2 criminals. One of them mocked Jesus, saying, "If you're the King of the Jews, come down from the cross, save yourself and us." Jesus actually had the power to do this, but he stayed on the cross to bear the punishment for everyone's sins. Jesus hung on the cross for more than 3 hours. He said, "It is finished," and breathed his last breath and died. The soldiers wanted to make sure Jesus had died. One of them thrust his spear into Jesus' side. Blood and water flowed out, showing that he was dead. They removed Jesus from the cross, and a rich man from Arimathea called Joseph offered to bury Jesus in a tomb that he had just finished. They wrapped Jesus in a burial cloth, but didn't take time to anoint Jesus' body because the sun was going down and the Sabbath was starting. Joseph and his helpers rolled a massive stone over the entrance of the tomb. The Jewish leaders assigned soldiers to guard the tomb to make sure the disciples didn't steal Jesus' body and claim that their leader had risen from the dead. Jesus died on a Friday and was buried that evening before sundown. Saturday was the Sabbath when no one could work. Early Sunday morning, some of Jesus' women disciples went to the tomb to anoint Jesus' body. They found the stone rolled away from the entrance of the tomb. Soldiers lying on the ground. They had fainted. And 2 angels said, "Why do you seek the living among the dead? Jesus is not here. He has risen." What do you think is in the white egg? That's right. Nothing, because the tomb is empty. Jesus died for you, then showed his power over death.